Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas. Together with Robie, who is sitting here, we are in the SRU team in Canonical. And today we're going to talk to you about, well, something about SRUs. This is not a crash course on SRUs. I'm not going to explain in detail what an SRU is. There will be links for that. But we will cover some of the requirements because we feel that many people can get frustrated when uploading an SRU and it doesn't pass or it stays in review forever. So we want to talk to you about the requirements, about the things that we look for in an SRU, what could make an SRU be processed much faster. So what helps us, what are the challenges, and at the end, we are going to share pro tips on your perfect SRU so that it just gets approval really quick next time. So an SRU, as I said, I'm not going to go into much details, but basically an SRU, it comes from the name, Stable Release Update. This is the process within Ubuntu on how packages can get updated in a stable Ubuntu release. This is not about the development release, but once a release has been made and it's out there, there is a set of criteria that we have to take into account before we release and approve an update for that stable release. Basically, we want to fix bugs. That's the whole point of an SRU, or the biggest point of an SRU. But we have to be very careful to not introduce new bugs, right? You want to keep it stable. There are cases where we can bring new functionality. We will talk about that briefly, but that's the gist of it. So, as I said, we want to fix bugs, but we don't want to introduce new ones. And that is not always easy. It's very tempting, for example, for somebody to fix a bug to just grab a new upstream release because they say, well, this bug is fixed in this new upstream release. Fine, it is. What else is? And what else is broken in this new upstream release? So there's a set of criteria that we have to take into account. So we don't want changes in expected behavior. We don't want to fix a bug, but introduce 2 more or 3 more, or even 1 more. So usually, the best SRU is the one that has a targeted fix, a fix specifically for that one issue that you are observing that is impacting users, and that's the one you want to fix. Every single update has a risk of regression, always, no matter how small. So an SRU is always a balance between the fix you are applying, providing, and the risk of regression that you are introducing in this new upload. Sometimes we definitely need new functionality. There's a new graphics card out there. We need new drivers. We need a driver for a new printer. We need a new Wi-Fi protocol, and so on. So there's a balance, as I said, and we take these into account, and these are possible. It's possible to bring new functionality via SRUs in very specific cases. One example is the HWE kernel, the hardware enablement kernel, something you can run on an older Ubuntu release, but it's a newer kernel which supports newer hardware. We can't really see what kind of hardware will be out there in 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And some of those releases, they will still be supported by then. So we need to support, to some extent, new hardware. Now, from the SRU point of view, we have a bunch of competing requirements here. So we have people demanding fixes. There's this critical bug. I need this fixed. Well, is it critical for just you? For everybody? How many people are affected? Is it something really worth considering an update for all people using Ubuntu? Then we have the other camp, which says, I don't want anything to change in my distro. I love it the way it is. Please don't change anything. Why did you change that? Sometimes the bug was fixed, but there's, as I said, there was a regression. Something else broke. That's also bad. So we have this set of new competing requirements, and we need to handle this. And again, a new version is so tempting to put out in an update because everybody highlights the nice things about the new version, right? And it also fixes the bug that you want, but it can introduce regressions. And I will say this over and over in this talk, fear of regressions. So briefly, how is the SRU team organized? In the beginning, there was a URL on the first slide, or the second one. That's the main URL for the SRU process. It also has at the very end this table which lists the team members. These are the current team members, and you can see we work in shifts. Every day there is 1 or 2 working on the SRU shift. we are onboarding right now a new team member, so the team is growing. And these are the shifts then. So for example, yesterday was my shift, but I was traveling here, so I didn't do it. Sorry. That's a good enough excuse, I think. But I will try to pick it up in the weekend. Oh, one more thing, just I want to say here that there is a shift on Fridays, but that shift, it does not do SRU releases. We just do accepts. We'll talk about this process later. But we don't release updates on Fridays, because if something goes wrong, there's nobody around to fix it quickly enough. So we have a bunch of reports. This report shows the packages waiting in the unapproved. We can see here some status colors, green, red. You can guess red means bad, and so on. We will see them later. And so those are the reports. And then what are the stages of an SRU? Where does it begin? Where does it end? So first of all, we need to have a bug. So every SRU needs to have at least a bug, which has what we call the SRU template filled out. This is a copy of the template. It's available on the wiki. This is where you, who are proposing the SRU, where you basically sell the SRU to the SRU team, where you propose it. This is what I want to do. This is why it's important. Here's what's going on. If we don't fix this bug, this is the impact. This is how I will test this. In the end, this is an agreement between you and the SRU team. This is your proposal. This is how I want to fix this bug. It also serves to check back on this later on. If there is a regression, we can see what the test plan was and if the test plan even considered that possibility. Once you are basically ready with your package and the SRU template, you upload it. It will end up in an unapproved queue. The unapproved queue is, it will just have the source package in there. Nothing will build, nothing will be tested. It will sit there waiting for the SRU team to review it. This is where on our shift, we will get to these packages. We will see the changes. We will see the depdiff. We will see the bug number linked to it. We will see what the bug says about it. If everything we think of was considered correctly, what does the test plan look like, and so on. And we decide if we approve it or reject it or ask more questions. Some team members use this Trello board, so that's where we pick our work basically from. At some point, the decision is made. If the SRU was accepted, you will get this email that some of you may have gotten plenty of, I hope, which says, hello, thanks for this SRU. Your package was accepted. Now it's been accepted into proposed. Now is when things will start happening. Now is when the infrastructure will actually build the package in all the architectures. The DEP8 test, the auto package test, will be triggered at this stage. And the aging period begins here. So the package has to remain here for at least 7 days, and all the checks have to be green after that. We'll go over the checks now. But this is what triggers it all. It's very important here that you are subscribed to the bug, not only to be aware when this has happened, but also be aware of when we ask questions. So we might be asking questions about the test plan. Hey, have you covered this? How do you run this command? This command doesn't exist in Ubuntu, and so on, questions. So pay attention to the bug mail, because sometimes an SRU it looks like it's stalled, and it is, but the reason is that there was an unanswered question, for example. So the package was accepted. That's when the verification begins, and essentially that's when somebody runs the test plan as it was proposed when the package was accepted. Here, I will mention this again later in more detail, but it's very critical that you do not deviate from the test plan. So the test plan says to do one thing and you do something else, and you think this is fine, this is a better test. You flip the tag saying that the bug is green now. But when somebody from the SRU team comes and looks, they will see, wait, but this is not what we agreed upon. It's okay to change the test plan, but it has to be communicated. It has to be reasoned. It has to be documented. Not just run something else and declare the package as having passed. And please mention which package you actually tested, where it came from, and the version. We have seen cases where people, in good faith, just by mistake, they executed the test plan with a package from a PPA, for example, not from proposed. And there was one documented regression case, at least, about this once. So we need to test exactly what the users will get in the end, and that is the package from proposed. So when all those checks are green, when the tests when the test plan has been executed according to plan, when the DEP8 tests are fine, when everything built, the package has aged long enough, there is nothing concerning out there, okay, the package can be released. There have been cases, I have done this once or twice, and you have to keep in mind that not necessarily the person, the SRU team member who accepted the package will be the same one who released it. They can be different persons most of the time even. So sometimes, for example, I'm releasing a package, I go over everything that has happened in the bug, the test plan, all the discussions that were commented there. I look at the diff, and sometimes I see something that was not caught before. So I have halted SRUs at this stage once or twice, because I've seen something that wasn't caught before. Like, for example, the package was not restarting the daemon after the upgrade. So yeah, it has to restart it. I mean, there are cases where not, but in this particular case, it had to restart it. So this was like the final step before release where this was caught, and then we halted the SRU. So it can still happen at this stage. But that's almost the end, really, not the full end. So the package, after it's released into updates, it begins what some of you may have seen already when you run apt-get update. It's what we call phased updates. So the package isn't proposed, but it's not immediately available to everyone. So apt will tell you, hey, I have this update available, but I'm holding it back. And there is a bug, I think about this message having to be more clear in apt. So I think they're working on it. But basically, could be one of the reasons why the package is being held back. It's just in phases. So we carefully release the update to all the users. There's a phasing report. It's that URL. And I caught it in this state when I took the screenshot. You can see there that there are packages in phasing for like quite a long time. And in this case, the phasing was stopped. So what does this mean? If the update is causing crashes or errors on the machines, and at an increased rate, this gets reported and the update is halted automatically. When this happens, the uploader will get an email saying that, hey, your upload, your phasing, your propagation of your update to the users has been halted. You need to take action because it will stay like this. No more new users will get the package. It will be halted and you have to fix it. Also, when you're proposing a new SRU for the same package, if there is a previous one that is in this state, that's something we will check, because you will want the new SRU to actually fix the problem that phasing detected. Otherwise, it will just get stuck again. So the key thing here is if you get such an email about your phasing has been stopped, it's action needed. There is nothing else that will allow it to continue on its own, unless by some miracle the errors just stop, but that's rare. So the common issues that we see in SRUs are why they are halted for so long in some cases. Sorry, I skipped. No, this one, yeah. So here is one, and this would actually prevent the package from being accepted. It's one I made up, right? This is not a real one, I just made something up. And the impact, for example, it states here, when I run this command with option X, it fails to clear the screen. Great. But I have no idea what this application does. I have no idea what this command does, why it has to clear the screen, what's going on here. The key thing here is to remember that we in the SRU team, we are not experts in all Ubuntu packages, far from it. There are thousands and thousands of packages. You are the experts. So in some cases, we know the package, sure. But think about it. Think you're selling this update to someone who doesn't know about your package. You have to explain, why is this important? Why are these users affected? What happens if the screen is not cleared? What's going on here? Remember that also people who are not affected by this particular bug, but they have the package installed, they will also get your update. So think about the impact your update is making globally on every single Ubuntu machine who will have this package installed. So here we would expect a better explanation of the impact. Why is this a problem and why are users impacted? Test plan. This is made up, but it's not so far from reality. There are some SRUs out there that say basically this. And as you as the expert on the package, you may know how to make sure that it's working, but I don't. And other people reading this SRU in the future, why this update was generated and applied, they may also not know the history of this. So please make a good test plan. It doesn't have to be like pages and pages long, but something, and actually while writing a test plan, usually what happens is that you become even more aware of the fix, more aware of, hey, maybe there's another way to fix this that's better. And you can even use this test plan maybe in the future in automation. It could become a DEP A test. So there are many benefits in having a good test plan. They help you understand better the bug, understand better the fix. Others understand the same thing better. So bonus all around. And where problems could occur, if you say, nah, nothing could go wrong here, well, you know those memes, hold my beer, right? Sure, nothing could go wrong here, hold my beer. There are so many cases where things go wrong inadvertently, of course. So you have to be creative here. So think like there was an XKCD chart the other day where they were discussing an update, and let's apply this update. What could go wrong? And they start replying, well, a super volcano, maybe zombies, you know, anything could go wrong. So really take a moment and think about this here, right? And if you need some ideas, I have a Google Doc with about 2 pages or 3 of ideas of what could go wrong. It's, yeah, be creative. Also, something else that people write here usually, well, upstream apply this fix, it must be good. Yes, upstreams, they are the experts, definitely. But have you checked like 1 or 2 days later after the commit if they didn't revert it? That happens, right? That happens. Or maybe they changed their minds, maybe they found a better fix. So upstream, having blessed the fix, great, love it. But do some due diligence. Check, check the PR that upstream used to land this fix. Check the discussion, see what was considered when applying the fix. So in other words, don't use upstream as a kind of excuse to say nothing could go wrong. But I mean, upstream is great, but keep this in mind. Other common issues, the upload. Some of these are cause for reject right away. So if your upload doesn't mention a bug number, so that's cause for reject. Even if the changelog is nice and explains the bug, we need a bug number. This is for tracking purposes at the very least, right? The bug that you're referring to is private and not public. We cannot accept an upload like this. Either make the bug public or change the bug to another bug that is public. The versioning is hard. I dislike versioning very much. You have to think about upgrades within the own Ubuntu release that you're proposing the fix for. You have to think about upgrades between Ubuntu releases. Some versions are nice, 1.2.3-4. Other versions have Git hashes, and you know the drill. So the version has to work. Upgrade path has to be followed. The changelog. You're describing what you changed in this upload. We don't need a wall of text here. We don't need commit messages. We need a brief description. And the key thing is that we need you to describe all that you changed. An example, you add a patch fixing a bug, and oh, wait a second, I can also add a test for this, and you also add a test in Debian tests. So in the changelog, you should describe both, not just the patch. You should also describe the Debian, the test changes. And the key thing here is when I'm looking at such an upload, which has a discrepancy between the changelog and the contents, I have to wonder, did you mean to include this extra content, or did you include it by mistake? Or the other way around. You meant to actually include it, but you forgot to mention it in the changelog. So these things, they have to match. But again, no wall of text, please. That's not what's required here. Some more technical details. The changes file does not include the previous upload. So if it was an upload that went to propose and you found a bug and you need a new one, you have to include the previous one in the changes file because it's still valid. It was released to the public. It wasn't proposed. And the missing upload for affected release, there is a slide about this. But yeah, the Ubuntu release is not just the one that you're working on. There are ones that come before. There are others that come later and after and eval. And we want to have people who are on one release upgrading to the next one to not regress on this bug. So the fix needs to be in all releases. Verification issues. So you did not follow the agreed upon test plan. So that's one that's very common. Again, the test plan can change. It happens that while you're doing the verification, you'll find maybe a new way to test it, a better way to test it, or another thing to test in addition to. That's fine, but document it in the test plan. The famous, it works now? Great, but no. We need more. We need you need to feel confident that the test plan was executed, because this is going to be released to all Ubuntu users. Sometimes people verify one Ubuntu release but forget the other. I have a slide about that. Tested with the PPA package, I mentioned this already. Again, in good intentions, but just a silly mistake. It was already enabled in the VM you were using for testing, that kind of thing. And we need to know that you really use the version of the package that is proposed for this. The test plan verification, we don't need like your terminal logs of you testing the thing, pages and pages. No, a concise, precise statement saying, hey, I followed the test plan with this package from proposed, this is the version, and the test is green, it worked as expected. And then you flip the text. That's fine, right? It's not that we don't trust you, that we want a full terminal log. No, that's not the point here. The point is that we can be confident that the right thing was tested following the test plan. Some common issues. This is the pending SRU report. It's public, it's a report I encourage everyone who uploads an SRU to look at. And here are some issues that are preventing these packages, well, some of them from being released. So the first one, well, the very first one is green. Which one was that? MSMTP, I think. It's green, it has been in the queue for a long time, and this, I will come back to this one, why it has been so long in the queue later. The other one, the one with the blue bug number, that means it just wasn't tested yet. I mean, it was uploaded, it was accepted, but nobody went to the bug and actually performed the test plan and flipped the tags saying that that verification was done. So it stays there. Me in my SRU shift, I will give priority to the ones that are green, because these are the ones people spent effort, that are ready to release. I can check them and make a quick release. Whereas these others, I mean, why wasn't the tag flipped on that one? I don't know. If there is time in my shift, I can click on that bug and see maybe they actually did a test plan but forgot to flip the tags. That happens. The other one is red, so that's self-explanatory. The test plan was carried out and it failed. That's, I mean, not great, but great at the same time in the sense that a failure was caught before it was released to the public, before it was released in updates. The one below that, it has that that sign about, what you call that sign? Roadblock or something being worked on the road. So you can add a tag to a bug saying, hey, I want this release to be blocked. I want this update to be blocked from release because of reasons. Maybe it's a super simple fix that you don't actually want to release right now. So you can add this tag and block it from release. So all is green, it's fine, but it has the tag, so we don't block it. We don't release it. And actually, if you look carefully, this one even has a problem there, but it's the same as this one here, which I will talk about now, which is this one is a regression in the auto package test. So the bug was verified, it's green, it has been in the queue for a long time, but the automated auto package test, they have failures. One thing to keep in mind here is that the failure can be in another package, not in the one that you uploaded. Because your upload, even though it's fine, it can introduce regressions in other packages. This is also tested for. And sorry, it's your upload. You have to hunt this down. You have to check what's going on. You may even get in touch with the maintainers of the other packages, but you are the one owning this. It's your upload. You have to do this. They will not get an email about this step 8 failure in their packages, but you will about the package that you uploaded. Another class of failure, which is not shown here, is the fail to build. So as I said, when the package lands in proposed, that's the first time that things actually get triggered, when it will be built. And it could fail to build there as well. And this obviously is a blocker for a release. This one is also common. There are multiple bugs being fixed by one upload. 2 of them are verified, but the third one isn't. And if you are just subscribing to one of them and you see it's green and you keep wondering what's going on, why isn't this package released yet? The test passed, all is green, what's going on? Well, it's also fixing another bug, and this other bug failed. It failed verification. And this is where this comes in, missing bug update. This is a real case example of a bug which was ready to release in Lunar. Oh, sorry, ready to release in Jammy. But remember I mentioned that all releases need to be fixed so that people don't get regressions when they upgrade. It was missing an upload to Lunar. Lunar was also affected. And this actually blocks the release of Jammy, because if you're on Jammy and you upgrade, to Lunar. Lunar does not have the fix. You will have a regression. You will have the same bug again. Here we have an example of pinging in the bug. Hey, this is all good, but you're missing this other upload. Will you do it? What's going on here? On and on and on, like several weeks straight. This was a case where the uploader was missing bug email about this. So he was missing this comment. So eventually I contacted him on IRC directly and pointed him at the bug and said, oh, sorry, I didn't see that. And then he proceeded and made the upload and it was fixed. But the key thing here is pay attention to bug mail. I know Launchpad is quite verbose in terms of bug email, but find some way to not throw these in the trash or not have the filter catch these types of emails about your SRUs. So some tips. This is a bad case in the sense that look at how many bugs this package was trying to fix in one single upload. If you look at the bugs, you will see this is a kernel package, so it doesn't really follow under, it's a different process, but I just wanted to highlight here the risk that you're taking if you feel tempted to fix many bugs in one upload. That there is a sweet point here, right? We don't want you to now do 30 uploads, each one fixing one bug in a row. That's also not what we want. So there's a sweet point here. The more bugs that you fix in one upload, if they all pass verification, great. You fix many bugs in one upload. But just imagine in this list, if one of these is red, failed verification, that will stop the whole upload. That will stop the whole package from being released into updates. So there's a balance. Also think about writing test plans for all of these and the justification and the SRU template. And then on our side, on my side, when I see a package with that many bugs, I go, oh boy, this will take the whole week to review, right? So there's a balance. We don't want you to serialize all the uploads, just fix one bug with every upload, but we don't want this extreme as well. So there's a balance. When you're adding patches, please, this is not mandatory, but I encourage you to add that 3 headers to the patches because that gives us context when reviewing this. We will straight in that few lines, we will know where the fix is coming from, which other bugs were filed about it. We can check upstream discussion on it and so on. So it helps really a lot. I mentioned this, the changelog, document it, don't miss changes or, well, we can't have the discrepancy in the changelog. But again, high level, please, don't start showing commit messages in the changelog. That's not what it's about. Proper impact and regression assessment. I went through this in that other slide with an example of an SRU, but we have to think about impact. We have to think about, okay, there is this bug. What's the actual impact here? Is it just an annoying log message, like a warning, but everything keeps working? Would that be worth fixing for all the users of this package? Think about it. Is it a crash? Is it loss of data? Okay, that's different. How many people are affected? Is it a package that is installed in all Ubuntu systems? Just a few? Just very specific ones? I mean, even in very specific cases, a crashing bug or a data loss bug is critical. But ponder this. How many systems are affected by this bug? And in the what could go wrong, yeah, again, think about it. Think about anything that could go wrong in there. Not just about your fix, but think about the process of the package being updated. Like imagine a kernel update. The fix could be simple, but maybe the user had something wrong in grub and he reboots and the system doesn't come back. It's a regression potential, not specific about your fix, but about the update in itself. This is all about risk management in the end. Have a great test plan. That is the template from the SRU template, what we expect you to write in the test plan. Key thing here is that it would be awesome if anybody could execute a test plan, not just the person who knows how the package works. So the test plans that are basically just copy and paste and show your result, excellent. Think about also to cover not only what you are fixing, but if you can, the normal usage of the package. So let's say you're fixing a command line option parsing that crashes. Well, also take a look at the rest of the package. Does the rest still work? Does the package still work after your fix? Not just it doesn't crash when using this command line option. Unambiguous verification, that is the key word, unambiguous. So when I said I don't need like a terminal log of all the commands you did when you verify the test plan, If you want to show one, great, that helps. But in general, the whole thing has to be unambiguous. We have to know, we have to be sure that you tested the correct package, that you followed the test plan. And if you make a statement as such, that works. Tip, I like to use @cache policy name of the package, because that shows me exactly the version and where it's coming from. So in terms of showing that you use the correct package to verify the SRU, that's enough. Don't forget other Ubuntu releases. So if you're fixing it on 2004, 2204, then for some reason you skip 2304 and then it lands in 2310, what about the devel release? Make this clear to us. Make this clear where the bug is already fixed, where it's not, and which are the affected Ubuntu releases. That helps a lot when reviewing SRU. I didn't mention the exceptions, and I actually don't want to mention them very much here because they are exceptions, but there are a lot of SRU exceptions out there. And without going into much detail here, what I want to say is that the SRU exceptions, they have their own process for being accepted and released. So in the verification step, we expect you to follow that process, right? And also, just because it's an exception, it doesn't mean unlimited credit card. Doesn't mean you can do anything. Hey, I have this exception, so I can upload anything. I can upload any change here. That's not the case. Especially changes in the packaging, in the Debian directory, those are always reviewed. Doesn't matter if you have an exception or not. In general, you have to convince us that this SRU that you're proposing is great, it's awesome, it really fixes an important problem, it's affecting many users, that you're confident in the fix, that you think of some regressions that could happen out of this fix. Here they are. Be transparent. You are the experts in the package, you are the best one, you are in the best position to tell us what's going on here, why this fix is important, what's the impact on users, and why this test plan is great. So sell your SRU to us, right? Convince us that this is a great SRU to accept. And the trade-offs, if you say something negative in the trade-off, that's not cause for rejection, not at all. That might even be the opposite. That shows us that you thought about this, that you thought about what could go wrong, and that you were transparent about the consequences. That's what we want here. And to finish, as I said, state your case for the SRU, document it, why it's important, be unambiguous in the verification. Doesn't have to be a long verification, but it has to be unambiguous. Follow the test plan. It's fine to adjust the test plan as you go, but always update the real test plan in the top of the bug. And also, state your reason why you're changing it. If you can, minimal fixes for the SRU, right? So if you might be tempted to make multiple fixes in the SRU, and sometimes this is great, but remember that slide with like 30 bugs, and think about what would happen to your SRU if one of those failed verification for some reason. The whole thing gets blocked, right? And pay attention to bug mail. If you submit an SRU, subscribe to it. If you're not already, if you're not a submitter, subscribe to it. Don't send it to the spam, to the Launchpad spam folder, because sometimes that's the reason why the SRU has stalled. We have asked questions there. And if you remember how we work in shifts. So let's say I go over a bug in my Thursday morning. Oh, I spot something, I ask a question. Sometimes I will reach out on IRC. If you're there and you can answer it on the spot, excellent. If not, well, okay, it's fine. I will ask in the bug, but I will not stop and wait. I will move on to the next bug in my list. And I will do so through my day. If you happen to see the question and answer during my shift, I can still act on it most likely. But if you do it like the next day, then it's not me anymore. Then it's Robie or Chris or somebody else who doesn't have context. It doesn't mean they will not act on it, but depending on the bug, sometimes we prefer to let the person who was studying it first continue the conversation. But shifts again, and my next shift will be the next week. So if you are actually waiting for me to answer, I will likely not answer to you the next day or the day after that. I will do it on my shift. So that's the thing. And that's what we have. We can have some questions now. Robin and I can answer if you want.
So I understand this is somewhat of a rare case, but I figured I would ask it anyway. So security updates are delivered to security and then they are copied over to updates most of the time if there isn't something else in updates. How are regressions and security updates dealt with if there's no tracking bug to actually associate it with?
Yeah, that's more tricky. You want to answer that, Robie? Yeah.
Can I make sure I understand the question exactly? How are regression bugs tracked? So you mean a security update goes out and someone files a regression report against a security update? Is that what you're asking?
Kind of, sort of. So I'm looking back to the phased SRU page. I would assume security updates are not phased since that repository is enabled anyway. But if there are regressions, is that tracked somewhere? Does somebody have to file an additional bug report? Is there any tracking for that?
So what you do is you file, if there is a regression, then what we would ask people to do is to file a new bug to say there is a regression and explain the versions involved. There is a special tag to add called regression update.
Okay.
And it's actually the same tag, whether it's security or updates, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
There are a number of us subscribe to bugs that are tagged that. You can do that in Launchpad. You can just say, I want to see all bug traffic associated with a particular tag. So we will notice and then deal with it appropriately. And the security team does the same thing. If it is a security regression, you can mark the bug as public security, and then it will appear on their list as well.
Okay.
It doesn't matter too much if you don't do all of these steps, because other people can fix the bug tags if they notice. Obviously, if you do nothing or just file a regular bug, it won't be prioritized for triage until people notice. So yeah, setting the bug tag, the regression update tag is probably the most important thing to flag it to us.
Thank you. I know. It's this guy.
So thank you. So sometimes bugs can have tasks for several packages. Like a bug can have like 10 different packages affected. It's the same kind of bug, but unrelated packages are affected by it. Still, the verification tags are a single slot. Like you can have verification done or verification to be done tags. Verification needed tags for, there is a single slot, basically. How do you like that to be handled when this happens? Or
Yeah, I guess it's going to be a bit more manual. Like the key thing is being unambiguous. So when you will add in a comment that you follow the test plan for that package at that version. And if you're the first one, then you will flip the tag to verification done, and then it will show up green in the report already. But then when we go to the bug, we have to check actually which package that you're talking about. There were cases, there was a recent case, there was a Python PEP that changed the check for version numbers, a recent one, and it affected a bunch of packages, dput, a bunch of Debian-related tools. I remember dput now, but there were many others, some Python modules and such and such. So that was a huge bug with many such tasks. And I released some of those, and I actually had to check very carefully which one they were talking about in the comment. Okay, I tested this one. Okay, so this one I can release now.
so it's basically all manual.
For this case, yeah. Do you have other idea? No, that's.
So what's important is the comments, right? Because we don't use the tags on their own. We use the tags to point us to which bugs need attention, and then we read the comments in order to make a decision about what to do. So as long as you're unambiguous in the comments, there will be no accidents. The other thing I would say is, hopefully Andreas has explained some of our workflow. So if you need our attention, you can understand that unless the bug is showing green in the pending SRU report, we probably won't look at it. So I'm not saying mark it done if it needs to be read, say verification failed. But my point is, if you're wondering why a bug isn't getting attention, look at it from our perspective, which is that report. So yeah, if it's in an overloaded state, but some of them are verified, I think it's fine to mark it as done, but make it clear in a comment what you mean. and then we'll come along and sort it out.
Okay.
But our perspective is the important thing, which is that report.
I wanted to go back to, I think I said I would get to, but I didn't. It was one of the bugs in the report, which was green after 100 and something days. Let me get to it. There's some lag here. I press the key, but it takes a while. I think it's this one. Yeah, so the first one that is green over there, 173 days in the queue. So this one was blue when I was on my shift. And I went, well, what's going on here? For some reason, I decided to click on the bug and see, why is it blue? What happened here? And what had happened is that the person had forgotten about the bug. So I actually pinged him, Chopin, and hey, did you forget about this? It's simple verification. And he said, oh, yeah, sorry. And he did the verification in 1 hour after that, and it was immediately green, and it could be released. So this happens as well. But what I did was just out of chance. As I said, this is just Lunar. We have a bunch of packages to go through on our shift. And just by chance, actually, I was with the new SRU team member, explaining him how this process works. And I was telling him, see, this blue one here, we are not going to check it because nobody has verified it. And I thought, well, maybe since we are here together, let's check it. And then we checked it, and we saw it was just a case of missing bug email. So yeah, it's really important to pay attention to the bugs, to be subscribed to the bugs.
No question is slipping my mind. That's great. It had to do, so anyone who has upload access knows that Brittany loves to tell you about uploads that are stuck in propose. I almost wonder if you guys have considered something like this for SRUs.
There is a comment that the system, I don't know if it's actually Brittany, but there's a comment that the bot adds the bug if the tests failed. So that last case there, which has auto package test regressions, in that bug number there will be a comment from a bot saying, hey, thanks, your package built, we ran the tests, and these are the failures. That comment will not refresh ever. It's a one in a lifetime thing. So the comment will be there, it will list the packages, we'll have a link so you can check the report. But if the tests become green after that, there will now be a new comment saying, hey, now it's okay, now it's green.
So what about in the case like that, that top one that you were mentioning, where it's been 173 days, he just forgot about it. Brittany will not let me forget about my packages if they are.
Yeah, and if it's stuck in, yeah, it will not. But here, it was not a problem. Yeah, I know what you mean. In this case, it was not a problem with the build, not a problem with the tests in terms of DEP 8 tests. It was just that the tags, the verification done tags, verification needed and done, they were not flipped. So the bug was still in verification needed. I think there is a bot from Brian that sends out an email saying, hey, this package has been in propose for X months. So that is one notification you will get. I don't remember if this bug had this notification. Somebody can click on it and see if that's the case.
People get a bit naughty when you start suggesting that they subscribe to a whole lot more email for SRUs.
Mhm.
If you this is it's not an unreasonable plan. That's not an unreasonable request to have something nag you over and over and over again while it's there. Please bring it up on the Ubuntu release mailing list, and if no one objects too strenuously, we could probably set that up.
Is that something? Would that be its own bot, or could Brittany handle that?
I think that would be its own bot, because Brittany is not Brittany is not used in the SRU release process.
Oh, okay.
At least not yet. There's a plan to do that, I understand, but Brittany is not used for SRU releases.
Got it. I'll bring it up. Thanks. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, you mentioned that you have a Google Doc with ideas for the what could go wrong, the regression
Yes.
potential. Are you able to share that with us now, or?
Yeah, I guess I can. I would like to polish it up, of course, but it has some crazy things in there. Like I used to do a lot of QA in the past, so
Cool.
I mean, I'm even thinking about environment in some of those regression cases. If somebody else wants to ask a question, I will search for the doc here in the meantime. But yeah, I will have to post this somewhere, I guess. I will not tell you letter by letter the URL of the Google Doc, right? I will sort it out, but I can show it just so that you can have an idea what I'm talking about.
Any other questions?
So this report has been a nice source of talking about the different cases. One case that I think we haven't talked about yet is the very, very top one, which has no bug listed at all. What's going on with that one? If you go back to the report, VirtualBox XT pack.
Yeah, I'd have to dive into that to see.
But normally that just wouldn't be there because it wouldn't have been accepted out of closed. It's possible that that was synced in the time period between final freeze and release, where where you get 0 day SRU. Like after the archive is frozen, you can still upload in some cases, and that will go into proposed for that release, but that doesn't necessarily and then they will be either treated as normal SIUs later, or will be opportunistically released into.
Yeah, in the days following the Mantic release, that was the case in this report here. There were many packages in here that didn't have bugs listed, because when they were uploaded to Mantic and they got stuck in proposed and the release happened, they were not meant to be SRUs, they were just regular devel uploads. And in devel uploads, it can happen that uploads can happen without a bug in the changelog. Now it's cleaned up, but I mean, actually the last one. Yeah, the last one. But that's very recent now.
That's probably a special thing because the kernel stuff has its own process, and in particular, it mentions signatures, so it might be something to do with the signing infrastructure, which is a whole separate thing.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a big report.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, mine now. Yeah, we have it. Yeah, so yeah, it goes long way up. Yeah, these ones here, they will probably not be taken care of anymore. Anybody wants to release GNU TLS for Krusty? It's green. Just ship it.
So those ones stay there because ESM for Ubuntu Pro might require them. So we've decided to leave those alone, such that if there is a security update released in ESM, they could incorporate those at that time, which kind of reduces the risk a little bit for them, for the users there.
And that sort of leads on to my question, which is, an example is Lintian gets updated every release to add the new code name to it. Is there some sort of way I could point the ESM team to this and say, hey, this update's good. It could be applied to all releases. Could you guys consider looking at this? Or is the ESM team completely separate? Do they have their own thing going on? How does all that work?
So the ESM team is separate, but my understanding is that it's mainly security updates only at that point. So they don't.
There are non-security updates as well.
Oh, right. Okay. But I think that it's very much customer driven at that stage. So
The map.
yeah. Okay. I don't think they're looking to do the same kind of level of SRUs.
But I mean,
Because if you consider users at that stage of the lifetime, right? They're wanting that they have a deployment that's very old by definition, right? Because they wouldn't have a new one. And so generally they're happy with the state of affairs and they want that state of affairs to mostly remain. I mean, there are exceptions. They might have like a standard baseline tested thing, so they're doing a new deployment, but they have to use their standard or whatever it is. But on the whole, they're far less concerned about things that are discovered today because it didn't bother them for all this time.
Okay.
And we have to worry about then regressing a load of users who.
Right. That's another thing
Yeah,
too.
the calculation has changed essentially.
Mhm.
The older the release is, and I think the same thing even applies to releases that aren't at that level, at that stage yet. So now we have Jammy. So Focal is still supported fully in the normal way, but users like the calculation changes if the bug is fixed in Jammy compared to Focal, like how the trade-off between risk and benefit.
Is the internal process for ESM sort of the same as an SRU? Like, does it go through the same amount of testing?
No, it's very different.
Okay.
The questions?
All right, then. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the summit.